My dear students and viewers, Assalamu alaikum. I am Murshida Imam, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Government Shahid Sohrawardi College, Dhaka. Welcome to you all, my dear students. Today I will continue the class for the students of Honours Second Year, Department of English. My dear students, you know we have already completed reading part 1, 2 and 3 of the poem The Rime of the Ancient Mariner by S.T. Coleridge, and today we will read part 4 of the poem. My dear students, get ready with your text, marker and pen. Are you ready? Yes. Then start reading the text. Look at your text. Okay. Part 4. First stanza of part 4. I fear thee, ancient mariner, I fear thy skinny hand, and thou art long and blank and brown, as is the ripped sea sand. Here you see the wedding guest, the dialogue of the wedding guest. The wedding guest is afraid that the ancient mariner, whether the ancient mariner is a living being or a ghost. Okay. Here the wedding guest says that he gets afraid of the skinny hand, actually the physical appearance of the ancient mariner. His tall, lean body and whose skin is wrinkled, okay, and brown like the ripple marked sea sand. Here the skin of the ancient mariner is compared with what? Ripped sea sand. You know, ripped means a pattern of raised lines on sea sand. So here we find a simile. Then go to next stanza. I fear thee and thy glittering eye and thy skinny hand so brown. Fear not, thou wedding guest, this body dropped not down. Here the first two lines are told by the wedding guest. He is saying that he is afraid of the glittering eye of the ancient mariner and also of his skinny hand. Then the ancient mariner, you see, assured the wedding guest, saying that fear not, the wedding guest, this body dropped not down. That means he did not die with other mariners at the time. He is assuring the wedding guest that he is a living being, not a dead one or not a ghost. Okay. Then go to the next stanza, and this stanza is very, very important for explanation. Please mark this stanza. Alone, all alone on a wide, wide sea. And never a saint took pity on my soul in agony. My dear students, these 4 lines are very, very important for explanation, and you have to quote these lines also while writing a broad question. Okay. That is, if you are said, that is describe the sufferings of the ancient mariner, then you have to quote these lines, okay, to answer this question. That is, here you see the repetition, okay, alone, all alone on a wide, wide sea. The repetition of alone, wide, okay, and here repetition expresses how lonely. Okay, my dear students, here repetition is used to show how lonely the ancient mariner was. Okay, that is, he was alone on a wide, wide sea. You know, his shipmates, that is the other mariners, were dead. Okay, and he was only a living person on the board. So he's saying that after the death of his fellow mariners, he was left alone. Okay, and he lived all alone on board on the wide ocean, and his soul suffered great agony, you see. Yet the ancient mariner is saying that yet no saint ever took pity on him. Okay, my dear students, so here we find the literary device used repetition, okay, also alliteration, repetition, and also anaphora. That is, the first 2 lines of this stanza is started using the word alone. Okay. Then go to next stanza, please. The many men so beautiful, and they all dead did lie, and 1,000 slimy things lived on, and so did I. Here you see the many men. Here the many men refers to what? Refer to the shipmates of the ancient mariner. That is, there were many mariners, that is his shipmates, lying on board, and they were all handsome. Okay, so beautiful. That is, they're very handsome and beautiful. Yet all of them lay dead. Okay, and the ancient mariner continued living on board just as the countless creatures of the slimy sea lived on. Okay, so beautiful, his beautiful shipmates all dead lie. They all dead lie, and you see the ancient mariner was only the living being, like the slimy things. Okay, he's comparing himself with the slimy things. Okay, then go to next stanza, please. I looked upon the rotting sea. Here mark the word rotting sea. Okay, and drew my eyes away. I looked upon the rotting deck, and there the dead men lay. Okay, my dear students, here you see that the ancient man is saying that wherever he drew his eyes, wherever he drew his eyes, he saw only the rotting things. That means only the disgusting things. Okay, and there wherever he is saying, that is, he looked upon the rotting sea and drew my eyes away, and I looked upon the rotting deck, and there the dead men lay. So he saw only the rotting or disgusting things around him. Okay, then go to the next stanza. I looked to heaven and tried to pray, but or ever a prayer had cast, a wicked whisper came and made my heart as dry as dust. Once again we find a simile here. Okay, his heart is compared, that is, as dry as dust. Then you see the ancient mariner was trying to pray. He looked to heaven and tried to pray, but or every prayer had cast, that is, but every time an evil whisper was uttered from his mouth before a prayer. Okay, he couldn't make a prayer, and it made his heart as dry as dust. Okay, then he was trying his best to make a prayer to God, but he couldn't, because a wicked whisper always came to him and made his heart as dry as dust. Then go to next stanza, please. I closed my lids and kept them close, and the balls like pulses beat, for the sky and the sea and the sea and the sky lay dead like a load on my weary eye, and the dead were at my feet. Okay, a horrible image of suffering you see. That is, he closed, that is, the ancient mariner closed his eyes and kept them closed. Okay, but the eyeballs, okay, the eyeballs began to beat against his eyelids. Okay, like pulses in the wrist. So here once again we find a nice simile, the use of simile here. Okay, and also we find repetition, for the sky and the sea and the sea and the sky. Okay, for the hot sky and the rotting sea lay like a load on his weary eyes, and the dead mariners lay near his feet. All his shipmates were died, and they were laying at his feet. So we find a horrible image here. Then go to next stanza, please. The cold sweat melted from their limbs, nor rot nor reek did they. The look with which they looked on me had never passed away. Another horrible image, that is, the dead bodies. The dead bodies never sweat, but here we find a supernatural description. Okay, and the narrative skill of stakeholders made all supernatural things natural to us. Okay, that is, the cold sweat melted from their limbs. The dead bodies were in a sweat. Okay, but they did not either rot or smell unpleasantly as the other dead bodies of general people. Okay, yet their open eyes still had the reproachful looks with which they died. That is, the look with which they looked on me had never passed away. That is, the ancient mariner, the shipmates of the ancient mariner, though they are died, okay, though they were dead, but their open eyes they were looking at him. Okay. Then go to next stanza, please. An orphan's curse would drag to hell a spirit from on high. But oh, more horrible than that is the curse in a dead man's eye. 7 days, 7 nights I saw that curse, and yet I could not die. Okay, here we find another image of sufferings of the ancient mariner. That is, an orphan's curse. You know, an orphan's curse is so horrible and powerful that he invokes evil, okay, upon an angel. And the ancient man is saying that, but oh, more horrible than that. That is, an orphan's curse, you know, is very horrible. But here the ancient man is saying that more horrible than that. What is the curse in a dead man's eye? Okay, the curse of the dead man's eye. That is the curse of the of his shipmates' eye was more horrible than that. Okay, and how long did he suffer this? How long did he tolerate this, the curse of the dead man's eye? Yes, 7 days, 7 nights. Okay, the ancient man is saying that the latter must he had to suffer. Okay, that is, the curse reflected in the dead seller's eyes was more horrible than that, and he had to suffer that curse for 7 days and 7 nights. Okay, and yet I could not die. That is, and but yet the ancient mariner could not die. The sufferings, the climax of the sufferings of the ancient mariner, you see. Okay, here we also find the use of simile. Okay, then go to the next stanza, please. The moving moon went up the sky, and nowhere did abide. Softly she was going up, and a star or two beside. Okay, here once again we find the natural description. Here the description of the nature, beautiful nature. That is the here we find the moving moon. That is the symbol of coolness. Okay, here moon is the symbol of coolness. Okay, free from guilt. Okay, then what was the moon doing? Yes, the moving moon went up the sky, and nowhere did abide. That is, it did not, that is, the moon did not stay anywhere. Okay, softly she went up and off. Okay, followed by a star or two, and she went on moving, but the ancient mariner lay fixed on the board. Though the moon was moving, the ancient mariner had to lay fixed on the board. Okay, then here you see the moon is personified here. That is softly she. Okay, then you see the moon is personified here. Then go to next stanza. Her beams bemocked the sultry main like April hoar frost spread. Okay, here once again we find a simile. Okay, the use of simile. But where the ship's huge shadow lay, the charmed water burnt away a still and awful red. Here the ancient man is describing that the moon's cool beams mocked at the what sea by spreading over it like the white frost of April. Okay, here you see the use of simile here. But the charmed water always burnt with flames of a constant and awful red where the huge shadow of their ship lay. Okay, then go to next stanza, please. Beyond the shadow of the ship I watched the water snakes. They moved in tracks of shining white, and when they reared, the elfish light fell off in hoary flakes. A beautiful image of the water snakes you see here. Okay, and then we see the change of attitude of the ancient mariner here. We see we saw that the ancient mariner was saying about the creatures of the sea as slimy things. Okay, but now What was he saying, my dear students? Yes, the ancient mariner looked beyond the shadow of the ship and noticed the water snakes. Okay, they moved along the shiny tracks which shone white in the moonlight. Okay, and when they raised their heads, moonlight falling off their heads looked like white flashes. Okay, you see here the ancient mariner, the change of attitude of the ancient mariner, that is he is watching the beauty. Okay, he finds the beauty of nature here. Okay, the beauty of water snakes now he can see. Then go to next stanza please. Within the shadow of the ship I watched their rich attire, blue, glossy, green and velvet black. They coiled and swam, and every track was a flash of golden fire. Okay, then you see when the snakes came within the shades of their ship, the ancient mariner washed their skins rich in color. Okay, the rich attire, that means their skins were rich in color. And when the coiled, that is the water snakes coiled and swam, he watched that their skins were marked with blue, shining green and black. Okay, like velvets, black like velvet, the velvet black. Okay, black like velvets. And the truck, every one of them, that is the every snakes left behind, looked like a flash of golden fire. Okay, then you see the ancient mariner finds beauty in the movement of the and water snakes on water. Okay, oh, happy living things, no tongue their beauty might declare. A spring of love gushed from my heart, and I blessed them unawares. Sure, my kind saint took pity on me, and I blessed them unawares. And it is the turning point of the poem. Okay, my dear students, here you see the ancient man exclaimed with joy and addressing the water snakes as what? Oh, happy living things. Okay, now you see from slimy things, now he is saying, oh, happy living things, and no tongue their beauty might declare. Now he finds beauty in the creatures of God. Okay, that is the mariner exclaimed with joy that is the water snakes were very happy living things or creatures. Okay, whose beauty could not be described by anyone. And then you see a spring of love burst out from his heart, from the heart of the mariner, and he wished them happiness unerringly. Okay, surely by the grace of the Almighty Saint, that is and he is sure that his kind saint, that is the Christ, or you may say kind angel, took pity on him, and I blessed them unawares. Now the kind saint took pity on him, and he was able to bless the water snakes unawares. So you see it's the turning point of the poem. And the last stanza, we are going to read the last stanza of part 4 of the poem, my dear students. And the last stanza is very, very important for your explanation too. Mark those lines please. The self-same moment I could pray, and from my neck so free the albatross fell off and sank like lead into the sea. So my dear students, you see, after feeling love for the creatures of God, what happened to the ancient mariner? Yes, my dear students, you see the self-same moment, that is that the very moment when he felt love for the creatures of God, at the same time, at the very moment he could pray. Now he could pray, and from my neck so free the albatross fell off. That is when he blessed the water snakes, the creatures of God, that is he got relief of his punishment. At that very moment he could pray, and instantly what happened? Instantly the dead albatross, okay, which was hung on his neck, you know, instantly the dead albatross fell off his neck. Okay, itself fell off his neck itself automatically. Okay, not by force. Okay, and like lead it sank into the sea. Okay, my dear students, so here we find another similitude, that is the sank like lead into the sea. That is the dead albatross was compared with lead. Okay, and it sank into the sea like lead. and here ends part 4 of the poem. And now I will give you homework from this part, okay? And take homework, please. Homework for you. That is question number 1. Question number 1, describe the sufferings of the ancient mariner, and you have to write down the answer of this question, okay, my dear students, taking help from part 2, 3 and 4, okay. You have to also read part 2 and 3 once again, and then you have to answer the question, that is describe the sufferings of the ancient mariner. Then question number 2, when did the ancient mariner get relief? Okay, when did the ancient mariner get relief of his punishment? You have to write down the situation. Okay, my dear students. Okay, my dear students, that's all. No more today. Then do your homework. Okay, please you will do your homework. Never neglect your study, okay? And I have an advice for you, that is read and read, okay? My dear students, in our next class we will read part 5 of the poem The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. Don't feel bored, okay? See you again in our next class. Allah Hafiz.